So yeah, hello guys. I welcome you all to yet another amazing event of Econ EDC IT Delhi. I can't tell you how pumped and excited for this event because today we have really interesting person with us. His name is Shashank. Yep, that's right. And yeah, before we go in detailed discussion with Shashank, like we have like short clip to play to you for Shashank. It's basically tour of our platform, and Lukodas will play the video. Just have a look on that. After that, we will go into the description and all those things. Lukodas, just play the video. So yeah, this is the platform where audience is right now, and we are being telecasted to that platform. So let me introduce Shashank first. I have a really long intro for you, but I'll keep it short. So growing in a family of entrepreneurs, startup weren't a new word for this 20-year-old. However, he went the traditional way with his education, started out an investment banker after completing his master's from Stradale University. And Shashank, who has been a TED speaker, decided to eventually become an entrepreneur after he met Varun Mori and Abhinav Arora. And thus Avalon Labs was born. After scaling Avalon Labs to newer heights, they decided to venture into a step and build Avalon Meta. Avalon Meta is an application where you can get different types of courses available free of cost by top professionals who have the knowledge of all things inside out. On to Shashank's experience as an investor banker, Meta was able to raise a really good amount before its official launch. That's a really unique thing that we in general observe a startup. And it was just because of Shashank's experience, right? And then, yeah, they built a community. That community is called the Avalon Army, and over a grouping of 2 lakh people who band together to help each other. Shashank's deep foundation, passion for the finance and how it works for startups has made him the perfect CFO of Avalon Meta. With the close to 100K followers on Instagram, Shashank is one of the mentors on the influence-driven platform and teaches all things about finances, right? He also owns a YouTube channel too, and he just launched a new YouTube channel on 1st April. So if you haven't checked, go check it out. Contain videos specially made for simplifying stocks, mutual funds, personal finance, entrepreneurial finance, startup topics, and making these things. He also inside educating and spreading awareness about the importance of savings and basic working of finance among the youth of India, something that we were seldom taught in the traditional institute to begin with. So over to you, Shashank. All yours.
Awesome, awesome. Hey guys, really nice video on the platform. I actually like the virtual setup that you guys have made, and thank you guys for having me here. Okay, so today's talk is gonna be on the lines of personal finance, and the reason why I keep talking a lot about personal finance is because this is something that should be taught in college, that should be taught to everyone in college, right? Even if you're a commerce student, they don't teach you how to do this. And when you come out of college, or when most millennials come out of college, what happens is they start making some kind of money, but they have no idea how to save or spend or whatever, right? They have no idea. No one teaches them how to spend, save. No one teaches them where to put this savings into. What are the different type of schemes out there to put this savings into? Nobody understands that. What happens because of this is, because you don't know where to save, you end up spending it more, right? And you end up doing stuff that is not supposed to be done. And everyone teaches you that when you're in school, or not even college, when you're in school, everyone teaches you about compounding interest and how it's amazing and stuff like that. You see Warren Buffett talking about compounding interest, but again, nobody teaches you how to take advantage of that, right? When it's quite simple. And if you guys are young, if you're in your 20s, then it's the best time to start saving and investing. So today I'll tell you what, I'll do it in a very story mode format, right? I'll tell you some of the biggest personal finance mistakes I did when I came out of college, because again, I was a finance grad, okay, and I was not taught personal finance even when I came out of college. And I'll tell you some of the mistakes that I did. The first biggest mistake I did was, so when I was around 24, 25 approx, right? I got a job as an investment banker in this company called IIFL in Mumbai. Okay. Now, investment banking job pays you a lot, right? Pays you enough, but also they make you work Monday to Sunday. Literally, there's no Saturday, Sunday off. But obviously, they pay you enough so that you work like a madman. Okay. Now, compared to all my peers around me, or compared to all my friends around me, I was earning a lot, right? But then again, when I just started earning, started making a lot of money. The first impulse, as soon as salary day comes, or the first impulse, as soon as you get your salary credited to your account, the first impulse is, come, it's my treat. Let's go out. Chalo, let's go drinking today, right? It's my treat. It's on me. Because I just got my salary. Now that's not like a celebration that you get salary because you get it every month, but you just feel, okay, I have so much money in my bank account. I'm rich right now. So let's just go spend it off somewhere else, right? Then if someone says, you know what, let's go to Goa, right? And you're like, done, because I just got my salary, let's go to Goa and stuff like that, which you can't do in college because you have to go ask your parents for permission and they'll be like, "Kyun jana hai, kiske liye jana hai," and all that. But when you make your own money, even your parents can't tell you anything. But that gives you the advantage for you to say that, okay, I'm making my own money, my parents can't say anything, I can do whatever I want, okay? And then suddenly when new phone launches, OnePlus something, and it comes on Amazon and Flipkart, and there's this amazing deal going on, and you're like, shit, it's too expensive, I can't buy this, but there's this beautiful EMI plan that I can choose, and I can start paying over a period of time. Right? All these are normal things that you would do in your daily life as well. As soon as you start earning, assuming you're still in college, these are the things that I did, like a big mistake when I came out. So the first thing I did, I used to get paid around 50,000 rupees at that point. It was 5 years ago, right? My starting salary was 50 grand. I used to save 2,000 rupees a month at the end of the month. The reason being, as soon as I used to get 50 grand, I used to go in Uber pool to office because my office was in Mumbai from say Chembur to Lower Parel. So it was like a 1 hour drive. So I used to take Uber pool in the early days. As soon as I started getting salary, I'm like, you know what, Uber pool, I should just go by a normal cab. So I upgraded myself from Uber pool to a normal cab, which cost even more, obviously double. And then I said, okay, I have enough money. Okay, let me go party. Let me go do this. Let me enjoy with my friends and stuff like that. And then I had this weird thinking in my head that kiske liye kama raha ho, apne liye kama raha ho, so I should enjoy. This is a very famous dialogue that everyone gives, right? I'm working so hard, so I should enjoy so hard as well. I mean, I agree to that. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy with your money, but then I realized slowly after a point, right, when I wanted to make some kind of a big expense, that time I realized, shit, why am I working so hard every single day of my life, going to office, getting paid so much? But again, I have the same problem that I had in college, is that during the end of the month, I'm broke again. Right? College also had the same issue. Pocket money used to get over, and then last 5 days you're always sitting at home, and then waiting for the next pocket money to go out for a movie again. So I had the same problem when I started working as well, because no one taught me how to save. Right? I just continued my college life into my working life, and then I realized the biggest problem that we all do, right, is that we start spending first and then saving later. Right? Everyone has this notion that, okay, you sab kharcha nikal do and jo bachta hai usko save karo. That's what a lot of people think, right? But then I started adopting a reverse approach. I said, let me save first and then spend without any hesitation with the rest of the money. So what I did was, when I had 50 grand, I couldn't save 20% at that time. So I took 10% of that amount, right? 5 grand to 7,500, 5 to 7,500 I used to remove, keep it in the side. As soon as I used to get my salary first, before I give party to my friends, I used to take 5 to 7,000, put in some savings. Now savings can be, if you have time, you can do equity. If you don't know how equity works, then you can just do a mutual fund without thinking too much. You can actually start an SIP. Now there are startups like Smallcase where you can just go just find some theme and put in the theme. There's a lot of education now. At that point, there's no education. Either you educate yourself in an equity platform, or you just put into some mutual fund after looking at historical returns. So then I adopted a reverse strategy. I said, okay, 50,000 comes into my bank account, wo bhi kaat put ke after taxes, take 5,000 bucks and put it in the side. Remaining 45,000, which is remaining literally 90% of my income, you spend, you enjoy, do whatever you want, right? So that gave me more leverage. Okay, then slowly I changed that, that 5% to, I said, okay, let me save 10% now. Okay, then maybe from 10% to maybe 15%. So ideally what I started doing was, when I used to get 50 grand, I used to put 10,000 into savings. There's 20% I used to just put it into savings. Remaining 40,000 is more than enough for me, right, to actually enjoy and relax. The problem is, if you don't save in the start, even that remaining 10,000 seems like shit, wo bhi bacha, let me spend it somehow. And that is what most people do, including millennials, including college going students, including even the first time job goers, right? They always spend first, and at the end of the month, they're like, okay, 5,000 saved, let me put it into some instrument. That's not how you do it. Do a reverse approach. You will save so much money, you have no idea. The second biggest mistake I did, again, I got the job and I was very happy, etc. I was not saving at all. And then some credit card person calls you, and then you're like, now I'm earning, right? I can get my own credit card. 50 grand is too less for me, right? I feel I should, be buying the iPhone X and stuff like that, because now I'm earning, and 50,000, matlab, iPhone X was almost around 80,000 at that point. So I'm like, that's only 1.5 months of my salary. So I should easily be able to pay it off. So then I went and got a credit card. Okay, now there's no problem getting a credit card, but the biggest mistake I made was, if my salary was 50,000, I got a credit card worth of 1 lakh. Okay, my limit was double of what my salary was, monthly salary. They said 1 lakh limit is good for you. You can take this. I said, cool. Now I have 1 lakh apart from 50,000 to spend. So I went little mad after I got them full shopping spree. Again, double parties now, because now I have credit card, so I don't have to pay it right now. Then what happened is, I started spending so much on the credit card, because see, again, you've got this free power in your hand, right? Again, your parents can't tell you anything. You have unlimited money in this card, is what you feel at that point, because you're already getting 50 grand, and then you don't have to pay this right now. You can pay it after 30 days. So you're like, shit, this is like super powerful when you don't know how to use it. And you just start swiping it left, right, and like 2 grand, 3 grand, 2 grand, 3. You don't understand, but you keep swiping it and you keep spending it. Then what happens again, that next month, now suddenly you're getting 50 grand, but your credit card bill is 20,000. Okay. And you have to pay that, or else the interest keeps going up. You remove 20 grand from that 50,000 and pay it there. You only have 30,000 left, and you can't save with 30,000. How can you save? You're paying an EMI debt, right? Now that happened, that same thing happened to me twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. And then I realized at one point my credit card bill was around 80,000, and I couldn't pay it back every month because I was spending the same amount. Okay. That 50,000, I'm still going out doing all that. I was not being conservative. I stopped saving at that point. Every month, 20, 25 grand, I started paying on the credit card. But my credit card minimum amount that I had to pay was so high that my interest at one point became 7,000 rupees a month, right? Just my interest. It is not even what I've used or swiped or whatever. Now, with a salary of 50,000, I had to pay only 7,000 interest and then pay the principal amount. That became a very big issue, right? In the end, I had to go to my parents and be like, dude, I screwed up. This is the card. I'll pay this much. Dad, please clear the bill, and I'll stop this card instantly. That day, I stopped my card, right? And then I think for another 3-4 years, I didn't get a credit card. I'm like, until I don't make enough money, I don't need to get a credit card. So today, when I have a credit card, my credit card limit is half of what my entire salary is. And I only use it for emergency purpose, or to just swipe for points. Okay. So now if my salary is say 1 lakh, I only take 50,000 ka credit card. And they'll call you, they'll irritate you. They'll be like, sir, aapka to, eligibility criteria jada ho gaya, you are eligible for this better card. I'm like, no, boss, I'm very happy. The better card and this card, there's no difference. The same amount of money I can withdraw. Don't make me spend more. And this is what a lot of people will do in your life, right? They will want you to spend more. All these financial institutions make money on the interest from you if you spend more. And this is exactly what happened in US as well, right? Most of the US people are on debt. I mean, they're in this culture where they're only racking up EMI, racking up loans, racking up EMI. The US guys don't save. We have this notion of saving, right? Our parents save. But then we as millennials, no one tells us how to save. Now there's another problem here, right? In your parents' ka zamana, or in our parents' ka zamana, the upbringing and culture and the world at that point was very different compared to what it is now. Now, if you ask your parents, the first thing that they would say is, if you start earning money, I think you should just get a house. That's what a lot of people say, right? Ek ghar khareed ke rakh de, because in that time, land was very, what do you call it? Like a gold mine, right? No one believed in stock market because stock market wasn't so famous at that point. But land was something that was their investment. Like how we have stock market today, for them it was land at that point. Now, what happens is today, if I'm just starting out my career, I say, assume I have 70,000, 80,000 rupees in my salary, right? And they say, okay, go buy a house. Okay. As soon as I buy a house, obviously I can't buy the entire house. I have to go for a 10-year, at least minimum 10 to 15 year EMI again. Okay. Now what happens is, every year from my salary, I'm just paying that money back. I'm again not saving. I can't save because I have to pay some 20, 30,000 every month on EMI, and then hope that I keep getting promoted, and then pay it back. So those first few years of compounding, you lose a lot. right? So I would suggest you definitely buy a house. I'm not saying don't buy a house, but try to buy it much later, not early in your life. Use the power of compounding early on in your life. Okay. And how does compounding work? For a lot of people who don't understand how compounding works, if I invest 1,000 rupees today in the market, okay, and say assume worst case I get 10% at the end of the year, okay, that makes my end total 1,100 rupees, okay, because I've got 10% up. Now next year if I get another 10%, that 10% is not calculated on the 1,000, it's actually calculated on my last amount, which is 1,100, right? So now I get 110 rupees. Okay, next month it is calculated on the last month's previous thing, right? 1,200 pay, again 10%. Now imagine that. Now you keep that for 30 years and you keep calculating previous year for 10%, previous year for 10%. At one point it starts ballooning, right? And when you're in your, I think in the 15th or 20th year, you will see that the yearly income that you make would be equal to your first month's amount. $1,000 per month, per year you make that. So that's how compounding works, and it takes time. Compounding only balloons over the end of the year, not in the starting. So if you guys are young, you should definitely start investing very early on in your life, or else it'll be a big issue. Big issue. Now, the third thing that I want to tell all the new millennials in the market who have recently made a Demat account or who have recently started investing in stocks. Now, a lot of people in the current market uh, with no knowledge of the stock market are coming in and investing in the stock market only for one reason, right? Quick money, right? This is again a very big problem. You feel that the stock market is a place which just gives out money to people. Okay, that's not how it works. Okay, everyone and your friends will, you'll have this one friend who will come up to you and say, "Are do you know that IPO? I've become an expert in stock." He will know nothing. Okay, but he will say, "I have, I invested in this IPO and that money became double in 15 days. This is perfect. You should keep doing this. So it's 10 bar double kar diya to kitna ho jayega, etc. etc." You'll always have that one annoying friend who will keep talking to you about this, right? Who will come with these schemes and tell you these get rich quick schemes. 1 out of 10 times or 2 out of 10 times he might succeed, but 8 out of 10 times he will definitely fail. Right? In fact, now all the IPOs that are coming out right now are not even getting profitable. They're actually going into loss as soon as the list. So now that guy will start beating his head like that. And you will be in that FOMO without learning anything in the market. You will be like, you know what, I think this is the right thing to do. What my friend is saying, one more get rich scheme. And then trust me, all these people, what they'll do, they'll come next with one more scheme. You know what I found on Bitcoin thing, on cryptocurrency thing, you can invest in this, you'll get a lot of money again. Now I'll tell you what, if it was that easy for everyone to make money, okay, if that guy can figure it out, if you're assuming that he can figure it out, then wouldn't everyone be rich? Why are we even working so hard and struggling in life, right? If money making was that easy, it is whenever you think there's some easy money that is being made, okay, without knowledge, then it is definitely something you should think 3-4 times about. Why is someone giving you this easy money? Why is this IPO always listing, so much? Is this going to continue the same way? Because it's your hard-earned money, right? Now don't listen to that guy. Now tomorrow what happens? Okay, I'll tell you this also. He'll come and tell you put it in this coin or put it in this instrument, and then you'll go put it in this IPO and you'll go for a loss. You pick up the phone and be like, dude, what is this? You told me, ye upar jayega aur niche gaya. You know what his response will be? Yeah, bro, even my money came down. Now what will you tell him, right? You can't tell him give me this money back or give me my loss back. He'll be like, हाँ भाई मैं भी loss में चला गया, and you both become dukhi atmas and you sit down, right? He doesn't understand anything, you don't understand anything. So the better thing to do here, the smarter thing to do here would be to learn, start educating yourself. Earlier, I think 10-15 years ago, it was very difficult to educate yourself in the stock market. The YouTube was not even a thing at that point. Right now you have YouTube, you have other resources like Zerodha Varsity. I have put out a lot of content on Meta app where you can just go freely watch. Now, today, if you want to learn about the stock market, there are endless resources for free. You don't even have to pay. There's endless resources. Okay, if there is a paid thing, I would suggest first look at the free stuff and then learn that. And then if you understand that, then go to the paid stuff. But today, to become knowledgeable, to become an expert, you have to start educating yourself. Once you educate yourself, making money becomes very easy, right? Because then you know exactly, oh, this is happening because that is happening. You start connecting everything, right? Acha, budget aa raha hai, matlab this sector might do well. If the construction sector is going to do well, that means let me look at the top stocks in construction sector. Okay, there's building, construction, but there's also cement. So cement is going to be used everywhere. So let me just go buy cement stocks, right? So if you look at the recent budget, now this is only with knowledge and you understanding of the stock market, right? If you look at the budget said we're going to do a lot of construction. Now in the construction space, there's L&T, there's so many other companies who build roads, who build metros, who build buildings and stuff like that. But then a lot of people are like, you know what, let the construction boom happen. But for every sector, you need something called cement. whatever happens, you need cement, you need pipes, right? So people just started buying cement and all this other stuff, right? They didn't want to know who wins the order. They don't care about who wins the order. Like, whoever wins the order, you still need cement. So let's rack up all the cement stocks. All the cement stocks start going up, right? So that is how you start connecting. That is a better way, faster way, and easier way to make money after you have enough knowledge of how to make money. Don't just simply go buy something for no reason. Okay, that is a very, very, very important factor. Okay. Another thing in personal finance is, when I talk about savings, I can't stress enough on savings. Okay. Apart from just setting up 5%, 10%, 15% into your savings, start creating another fund. Okay. I call this emergency fund. Start creating an emergency fund and just keep it aside. Don't even touch it ever. Even if there's a trip coming up, don't touch it. Right. Your 5-10% that you're saving every month, use it for whatever you want. Okay, you're saving for like 6 months, 7 months. Now you want to go for an international trip, break it and go for an international trip. Come back, start saving again. But make another fund, only 5% or 10%, whatever amount you can spare, even if it's 1,000 rupees a month, it does not matter. And if you don't know where to invest, there's mutual funds that you can start at 500 bucks. There's index ETFs that you can buy. Okay, you don't even have to understand what it is. You can just invest in it. It's basically just investing in the Nifty or the Sensex. And even if it's 1,000 bucks, just start saving it and do not touch that ever. Okay, that is only for a massive emergency in your life. Something really bad might go wrong. Sometimes you see families or you see your neighbors or something like that. Some bada hadsa will happen which they would never know, never predict. Okay, like coronavirus right now, and suddenly they're all in stress, right? They're like, "Arey yaar, abhi ghar liya tha, itna loan hai, this and that," and they'll keep crying, they'll keep cribbing, and they go into a very negative mindset. And I don't blame them, right? Because they thought things would go well in life. Okay, but suddenly things did not go well in life, and they didn't plan for that problem. Now, you tell me, do you ever think your life for the next 30 years will go smoothly upwards and there will be no problem in your life? That's never going to happen, right? You will definitely have 3 or 4 mild bumps across, right? Once you might be going up, then you'll come down, then you'll go up, then you'll come down. Some weird thing will come in the middle and give you a jhatka. So, to save yourself from that early on in life, start putting some amount of money in the side. And this is called the emergency fund, and only remove it when there's an emergency. If there's no emergency, don't touch it, right? Only if you feel something really wrong has happened, at that point, get an emergency fund. Now, another thing that you should not do when you're young, especially before, until you get married, you should not do this. Okay. A lot of people, again, when you come out of college and you start earning and start making some kind of money, a lot of people will tell you, dude, get a life insurance. Or your parents might tell you, insurance policy kara de, right? Because the premium is less when you're young. Okay, but you get the insurance policy and be happy with it. Now, I'll tell you what, assume I'm paying 5,000 rupees as an insurance premium. A lot of my friends right now do that. Okay, all their parents are like, you know what, just get an insurance policy, because again, even they don't understand the stock market so well. Okay, now insurance policy, the main idea of insurance policy in India is like, it is like a investment also. That's what people think. But insurance policy is not an investment. It is called an insurance policy to insure your life. So if something wrong happens to you, and you die or something like that happens, other people get the money, right? Your family members get the money. Now, the problem here is, if you're too young, okay, if I'm young and my parents are already settled and relaxed, then why do I need to get an insurance? Number one, right? Now, if I'm the sole breadwinner of the family, okay, and everyone depends on me and I'm the only one who's going and working and, giving money home, then you get an insurance policy. Or else, whatever that money that you're spending on that policy, and you will not get returns, you will get some 5, 6, 7% returns. The only major returns you get is if you die, right? So I would say that until you have someone depending on you, if you get married, you have a wife depending on you, kids depending on you, get a policy. You are the sole breadwinner of the family and you have your family depending on you, get the policy. If your parents are relaxed and chilled in life, you do not need to get. So even if your parents tell you, then you tell them, now no one depends on me, right? Let me get it once someone depends on me. Until that, I rather save it here or I rather save it there, right? Which gives you more returns. Always understand, whenever you save money, percentage matters. Amount of percentage matters. Now I'll tell you why percentage matters so much. Again, earlier zamana, a lot of us used to do savings is equal to fixed deposit. Everyone's like, fixed deposit mein paisa rakha hai, fixed deposit mein paisa rakha hai, right? Now the problem with fixed deposit is the returns on fixed deposit right now are some 6% or 7%. I'm talking about the higher end. Okay, it must be around 6 approximately, or somewhere around that. Our general inflation rate is around 5 to 6%. Apparently 6% this year. That is our general inflation rate. Now, fixed deposit is also taxed. After that, you remove that tax, you might come down to around 5-ish%. So you're actually losing money every year, the way I see it, right? So that means I'm like, okay, you minimum need more than 6% to beat inflation after tax, minimum. Okay, then if you look at a PPF scheme, okay, you know, parents keep talking about PPF, that gives you 7.1% right now. Okay, whereas a fixed deposit gives you 6, PPF gives you 7%. Stock market might give you 10%. And in the long run, stock market is safe. In the short run, if you try playing those stupid IPO games, you'll definitely lose money. But in the long term, you'll definitely make money. And this weird culture of trying to get quick money, right? I have seen some 3-4 guys have come and told me this, and I consider them absolute idiots. They've come and told me, I don't know how many of you have watched this movie called, not movie, this series called Scam 1992. I don't know how many of you have watched that movie. These guys come new in the market, fresh with zero knowledge, and they're like, "Is pe laga de." And I'm like, dude, this is so risky. Have you even done your research? Arey, risk hai to ishq hai. What is wrong with you? You put. Right? And they start giving me these dialogues, and I'm like, have you ever done even 1% research on this stock? Like, no, someone has told me, dude, don't worry, risk hai to ishq hai and stuff like that. You know, and movies like that will make you think, you know, bro,
Exactly.
you have to take risk in the market and make money, right? Now the market is risky, you have to play, little risk is there, but you should not be stupid and try to make money, right? Even
Exactly.
Rakesh Jhunjhunwala takes risks, but his risks are so calculated that the loss is only less, whereas his profit potential is more. Whereas all these new guys coming into the market who say risk hai to ishq hai, their loss potential is 98% and their profit potential is 2%. And 9 out of 10 times they'll go down because of that. So you are taking a risk, everyone's taking a risk, but do it in a smart way, in an informed way, not just go, you know, it's as equal to saying, I've come to an exam without studying. Okay. And I'm like, why? Risk hai to ishq hai, let's figure it out. Would you ever do that? That's exactly what you would do in the stock market. Right now, if you've studied and then you've gone, which is still a risk that you might fail, but if you've studied, your chances of success is higher. Right. So a lot of people looking at these TV series, please stop that. If you ever see a friend coming and giving you this bullshit dialogue, tell him, okay, cool, you do that. You might make money right now. Don't get that FOMO feeling that, oh shit, I should have done it. My friend told me. He might be right twice, he might be right 3 times. But over a longer period of time, if you start saving right now and just leave it for 10 years, you'll make 10 times more money than that guy. Because he is not doing compounding. He's doing you know what, the day labor types. Today 500, tomorrow 300, tomorrow 700, next day minus 300. He's just playing that game, net to net game, right? So don't get bothered about that. Now, the biggest problem that a lot of college people have when it comes to finances is the fear of not knowing finances. It is not that, you know, I want to save, everyone wants to save. Everyone thinks, compounding is obviously what we taught in school. Oh, saving should be very easy. It's like a habit, but putting that into effect is super difficult. It's very, very difficult to set a habit. Second, a lot of people don't enter the stock market because it's not because, they don't understand it or something like that. It's fear of the unknown, right? There's so many things in the stock market that you feel that I don't know this, I don't know that. Oh my God, it's so complicated. In fact, it's not complicated at all, right? It's actually very simple if you think about it. They have schemes for everything. For beginners who have no idea, can just give your money to someone else and they'll manage it for you. It's called mutual funds, right? If you're a little smart enough, you can invest in your own stocks and figure out the game by yourself. Okay, if you don't even want to give it to someone else and you don't even want to put it in stocks, and you can just put it in the Sensex ETF and just leave it there and just sleep, right, for another 10 years. You don't have to worry about it. So there are different things, but there's no one, I mean, people are not getting educated enough at a very early age. And because of that fear of the unknown, they don't start saving early. And when they don't start saving early, what do? You go back, give a party to your friend, you go to Goa, you rack up a credit card bill, you go to Zara and do shopping, and then you're done. After that, you're again crying, saying that I don't have money. And then your parents are like, what the hell? And then it's a very embarrassing scenario at home because they have to end up paying your credit card bill. So it's just a downward stream from there. And then after 3 years, you realize, oh shit, this is how I need to manage money with your experience of losing money. So I'm saying be smart and don't lose money in the early days. And a lot of people who start saving very early days and have this habit, I know a lot of people call them, what a conjuice guy, right? It's okay. It's fine. That same conjuice guy will get a bigger car than you 10 years later. So, and that time you won't call him conjuice. He'll be like, "Arey, bada aadmi ban gaya." So that's very stupid. Understand how money works. Okay. Understand how percentages work. And yeah, that's it. That's a small brief of understanding personal finance, to be honest. You can take questions now, Shashank.
Great. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Thank you so much for this. Is such an insightful session. So I will start from few basic questions. tell me first this, ki in college, when you was in college, did you have some experience when you realized ki what is the importance of personal finance? Why I'm asking this question is I know that at initial phase you didn't realize this, but the like, time you choose you want to be investment banker, like your direction you were more, like sort of inclined toward finance. But even if you were like inclined toward finance, you were not like knew what is personal finance is all about. So what like these shortcomings and what were your experience with these at initial phase of your life?
You see, the reason why I got into investment banking, or I would have preferred going into management consulting, is because one, I like numbers, and two, I like understanding how the world works. I like business models and I like numbers. Now, I knew all the principles of personal finance. Okay, I knew how compounding works. I knew how much I have to save every month. I knew everything. But when you start earning money for the first time and you don't have to ask your parents, you do go into that ego trip or that power trip of money, saying that ye mera hi paisa, I can do whatever I want, and there's no one looking at this money, right? So even though I knew all the principles, getting that savings element into habit took me 1.5 years, right? Until that, I knew everything. I knew how to do it. I knew if I do it this, I do that, it's good. But I just didn't want to do it because I was like, let me enjoy. I was at risk hai to ishq hai guy at that point. I'm like, my money, I'm working for myself, so I should enjoy my life. Who am I working for? That was the stupidity I did.
Okay, Shashank, most of us you know because of two reasons. First of all, the content you create on Instagram. Secondly, like you are the co-founder of Alman. So let us know that I personally want to know this. Ki what happened first? First, you like started to put your content on Instagram, or you realized what is the importance of personal finance, or first you like started to become like co-founder, and how these two things are connected. So if you can like bring light on that.
No, I think after IIFL, after investment banking, I think I started the company with Varun. We started Avalon Labs. That we did that for 1 year. After 1.5 years, the company was very self-sustained. We were making 4 crores a year, very profitable. So, but then after a point, we became a little bored because the money was the same. Everything was working on autopilot and stuff like that. And then I think we had a lot of free time, me and Varun. So Varun said, I have some free time. Let me start putting some content on YouTube, because YouTube at that point was becoming big. A lot of influencers were coming up, and the educational influencers were coming up. That was not even a scene 3 years ago, right? Now the educational influencers have started coming up. So Varun started putting up that. It actually clicked and worked. And then, okay, he said, Shashank, why don't you put something on finance? And I'm like, dude, I don't want to put finance content on YouTube. Why? Because it is the most boring thing you can teach. Finance is in our heads, finance is equal to boring, right? Even in my head, it was equal. I'm like, how can you make finance interesting? It is not possible. I can't open an Excel sheet and be like, wow, ye dekho kitna beautiful hai, right? No one's gonna be that happy. Then Varun's like, cool, that's the challenge. If you can actually figure that part out, then you might actually become big on the finance space. I said, chalo, let me give it a shot. So then I started doing videos. And then I realized when I was doing videos, I was talking in the way where I already knew everything, right? So I'm like, so when inflation happens at this percent and stuff like that, immediately in the comment section, I got, sir, what is inflation? And that is when it hit me, and I'm like, oh shit. Okay, so yesterday I was doing a video on my YouTube channel and I spoke about ETFs, and someone was like, what is an ETF? And I'm like, shit, okay, I need to go completely back, like deep into everything. In India, I don't know what inflation is. That's where it all began. Then I just started asking people, what do you want me to teach you? And then they kept putting it in the comments, and then I started putting videos that way. So it was a co-founder that came first, then the channel, which came as a hobby on the side, which then became quite interesting afterwards.
Yeah, great. And like, let me tell you, like, there are so many people putting things around financial finance, but you got a channel where every time they put any reel, every reel is a creative in itself, and no one can like feel like this is actually about the personal finance. So if like we were to talk about personal finance, every day I can see you bring some like discussion, like you talk about how you manage with your studies, how you manage with personal finance, like you how go you about like to how to create yeah this ये मैंने पहले कर दिया and this is something which people wants. How you like get to know कि लोगों को क्या चाहिए, like how you plan your content every day.
So sorry, I think I lagged a little bit. Can you just quickly just repeat the question in a small format? I think I lagged.
Just fine. So I was asking कि if you were to put any new reel or any content on your profile, like how you got to like plan कि do you like every time think I need to like put some new content, or you listen to the people what they are actually looking for? How you go
No,
about
I'll tell you, that's the biggest difference in what I do and what other people do. A lot of people in the market right now, all these new finance influencers that are coming out, are picking up a concept from Google. Okay, they go to Google and type inflation. They see what is inflation on Investopedia and three, four other things, and they make an exact video on that. Okay, so what is inflation? What are the types of inflation? These are basic content that you can get on YouTube, on Google itself. They convert that into a video format. When I make videos, I put in the personal angle as well, because I've gone through all this nonsense and I tell them that, boss, I have. And for me, for me the bigger problem is to try not only just educate the people, but make them understand why this is so bad. I'm not here to educate, right? A lot of people just come and say, what is inflation? This is inflation. Thank you. I'm like, okay, now you understood inflation. Now I'll tell you how you can make use of this and how you should be careful of this and where are the problems here. And you should be really careful because I did this in the past. So when I come out with a new piece of content, I don't come with the intention of, okay, just look at what is IPO and just make an IPO video, right? That's not what I do. I do what an IPO is, and I teach you how to understand an IPO. I teach you how to read financials of an IPO, and then make an informed decision after that. So the track slightly is slightly different, where it's more about making people understand than just coming and talking about a concept. So whenever I do new videos, I always think that how to make it more different, not different, but how to make people understand properly from a grassroots level.
Yes, great, great. So I remembered your reel where you were saying ki a scam, like a what to say, problem happened with a transaction with Citibank, right? 900 million, if I remember the number. So as this news came out, like you made an instant reel on that, and it got like so many people like shared that because that was something very interesting. So you as a person who is handling your Avalon Meta and all those things, at the same time you are handling your Instagram, how you like make yourself be updated to a point ki if anything is happening in the market, you get to know कि यार इस domain में इस sector में आज ये हुआ. So how you manage that?
So, one thing is that I have all the apps, educational apps. Not educational, finance apps on my phone, right? Economic Times, Live Mint. I keep getting updates on whatever happening. Apart from that, I've kept. Well, there's a guy who helps me out with this as well. So he looks at what is trending, why gold price is falling down, makes the script for the reels and gives it to me. But then I realized now, if you've seen, I've not put a lot of reels, is because the core concept of what I do, why I do, is to try to educate people as much as possible. I realized to educate people in 30 seconds is extremely, extremely difficult, right? It's very, very, very difficult. I can make people understand concepts. I can just make a reel saying what is a full form of IPO, it is this, 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 and be done with it. But that is not education. That's just copy pasting something from Google, right? I realized it's very difficult. I'm trying to understand how to make it, how to rebrand it a little bit. But I'm very happy with the long form content that I do, where I take 15, 20 minutes and make someone understand it in such a simplified format that people can understand everything, right? Because of that, there's a financial company called Grow. I don't know whether you've heard of Grow. But Grow reached out to me and said, can you make videos on our platform as well? And we will teach again basics like what is averaging and stuff like that, but in a very simplified, understandable format. So that I started doing it for them also. So it's just become a very different thing. I don't teach concepts, I teach more in depth. So that's what I do.
Great. Also, like in few past sessions, when we talk to few like people who are really active on Instagram, and then like main motivation to is push to content on Instagram. So we get to know from these people कि they are like responsible to make at least 1 or 2 reel a day, और like they have few commitment कि यार boss इतना तो काम मेरे को हर month में खत्म करना ही है regardless कि what other stuff I'm gonna to do. So do you take this as a burden कि यार इतना मतलब I have to make at least 1 reel a day or I have to make 1 IGTV video per week? Do you take that as a
I believe in quality over quantity, to be honest. The reason why people are doing one reel a day is because they want number of followers to increase to 1 million and 2 million and be very happy about it. I'm very happy with having 100K followers who really understand what I'm saying rather than having 1 million followers who just have no idea what I'm saying, right? So it's quality over quantity. And the reason why I stick to quality over quantity is because in the long run, okay, if you play the longer game, if you take a 10-year horizon or a 5-year horizon, people who have quality will only stay back, right? People who went behind quantity for immediate gains, it's like the exact thing that I said, right? IPO mein dal diya, paisa double ho jayega. That is the smaller game, right? I'm playing the longer game where I'm investing and staying for a very long time. So if you see, there are a lot of people, the good finance guys in the stock market, right? You see Rachana Ranade, she actually has a lot of information. Neeraj Arora, right? He also has a lot of, these guys are there from so many years. Now look at the comedy space. You see Tanmay Bhatt.
yeah.
Why is he there for so long? right? It's not because of quantity, it's because of quality, right? And look at how many people in the middle have come and gone. You don't even know who they are anymore, right? Now, same way, even he can put one reel a day every day, right? That is possible, but they will not survive. You need to be understand that the audience that looks at you needs, after a point, needs something like, oh my god, I learned this. Oh my god, this is an aha moment. Oh, wow, I didn't think about it this way. But if I just come and do what is an IPO kind of a video, it's not an aha moment. That's just, okay, I've understood something. Yeah, this is a concept that I learned. Good, good. This guy's putting good content. Great. One reel a day, I'm learning something. Right. But when you really give people aha moments, right? Oh shit, this is a concept I didn't understand. They will be loyal to you. I rather have a loyal audience, build it slowly. I don't understand the followers game, because in Instagram, right, or anywhere, the YouTube or Instagram, in the social media space, there is no competition the way I see it. A lot of people see it as competition, but I'm saying that if you have 100K followers, I have 100K followers, there's no competition between me and you, because it's not like the users unfollowing you and then following me for the content. The user is okay to follow both of you all and see the content of, right? So there is no competition here. In fact,
Yeah.
me and you collaborate more so that both our audiences get the most if they like finance content. So more finance people should do collaborations. No one's unfollowing one person and following the other. It's not like a business competition. A lot of people don't understand that, so that's why I just go on quality. I just put 2 videos out a week, if I can put 3 max, but again, it should not be some stupid video. I actually ensure that it's something that gives an aha moment to people, and that's it.
Yep. Yep. Again, I have a follow-up question on this content creation only. So this like becoming an influencer on Instagram is booming up just because of there are people who just gained like so many followers only by putting some content on some stuff, right? They try to become creative and like they do that. So like this notion is becoming more and more popular ki, like now youngsters wants to be become influencer regardless what they actually do in their life. So like what's your take in that, like become actually working on something or rather like putting, or if you try to like like make an Instagram account where you want to create something, so what's your take on that? What do you suggest people?
I think a lot of people forget why they started, to be honest, right? A lot of people who start making content on Instagram forget what they're doing. They make content, they get a lot of followers, they get too much followers after a point, and then their entire game circles around how to get more followers instead of actually saying, I started off because I want to teach people education or educate people about something. It doesn't have to be finance, it can be anything. I can teach people about marketing, cooking, baking, whatever, right? Everyone starts off with something that I want to teach something, or I want to show this kind of a skill or a value. After a sadly, after a point, everyone looks at how I've reached 100K, how to reach 200K. Now that content changes towards quality, from quality content to massy content. Right? I call it massy content. It's very generic content, right? And then that's only to get followers. And then they start doing clickbaity titles again to get followers. So you lose the essence. Okay, and then they get a lot of followers, and a lot of people come and give them money to show something. So now the whole thing now becomes how to make more money, how to get more followers, and you forget why you started. And when you go into that loop of making money, making more followers, you will in fact at the end of the day you will ensure that you will not survive after 1.5 years. You'll only be a short-term spike in the scheme of things, and the person who's building it slowly, giving valuable content, will survive for 3-4 years, and that following you can't break, right? Because it becomes like a very strong following base. You cannot break that. That's how it is.
Exactly. Now I have few questions in like specific to stock markets only. Can you please share what's was like when you was exposed to stock market and what was your experience with the very first trade that you made, and like how you get to know about this from videos or from some courses, or like how you get to know about stock markets?
So I'll tell you what, when I was in investment banking, my entire job was the stock market. So I already knew what the stock market was in and out, right? But I was not investing in the stock market because this was in 2016, and in 2016 I was investing in this instrument called Bitcoin at that point, because Bitcoin was going up, and that was the boom at that point. 2016 was the first boom, and that time I was trying to do get rich quick schemes at that point, right? So stock market was, I knew it, but I didn't invest in it. I was just investing in Bitcoin and crypto and all other coins, just like what a lot of people are doing right now. So I'm just seeing the same thing happening again. And then at that point in 2016, India came and banned the entire thing, banned the whole crypto space. So then I had to get out of crypto because India banned it, and then I had to invest all that money in the stock market. So that is when I started educating myself. Again, in the first few years, I did lose some money. Because the same get rich quick I was trying to do in the stock market as well. Then I realized, you know what, you can only make money peacefully without stressing too much on the long term. Invest in good companies and leave it and forget it and just watch it after 2-3 years and you'll be sorted. So that was the idea. I think Shashank lagged. Nupur, is he there? I think he got disconnected.
Yes, I think he's changing his network.
Oh, shit. Is he coming back?
Wait, I'll ask him.
Yeah.
He is coming. Till then, you can answer the question of audience. One question is, Bitcoin is not considered a safe currency by many people. What are your thoughts on its safety?
If you, it is definitely not safe. It's not because Bitcoin isn't safe. The reason is the governments don't make it unsafe, to be honest, right? See, if I want to invest in Bitcoin right now, and you know for a fact over a period of a long period of time, it usually tends to go up, but there is no underlying security to back it. There is no one monitoring Bitcoins. For example, in India, you have SEBI, you have RBI looking at the stock market and stuff like that. No one looks at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an unregulated thing, so it makes it slightly risky. The second thing, what makes it the most riskiest asset is because the government of India is also not very open about what is going to happen. Right? Suddenly one day they'll be like, we don't understand it, we're going to ban it. If you hold cryptocurrency, we'll put you in jail. All that stuff keeps happening in India, right? So Bitcoin as an asset is not very risky. Okay, even though it does not have an underlying factor, it's not very risky. But the other factors around it, like the economic factors around it, like if you look at geopolitical factors, like Tesla's come and said, you know, you can buy a Tesla now with a Bitcoin, but India is saying we'll put you in jail. So for Indians, it is a risky asset. But for a US citizen, Bitcoin is not a risky asset at all. So it again depends on country to country and how they adopt. If India comes and says, you know what, invest, do whatever you want, it's fine, then it's a good asset to invest in. So Bitcoin as itself is not very risky, slightly risky, but not very risky. It's the same as stock market. But because the government of India is not supporting it, it will become a very risky asset.
The one question is there in the chat also. How do you decide about the breakdown of the 20% that you invest?
How do you break down?
How do you decide about the breakdown of the 20% that you invest? What goes into equity, small case, etc.?
If you assume that, okay, I'm saving 20%, okay, and you want to, and if you're slightly young, then you should put, I think, 50%, at least 40 to 50% in large cap. Large cap basically means big companies that are too big to fall. For example, TCS, Tata, you know, Reliance, Wipro, and HCL. These are companies that are so big, built over so many years. It's ITC, too big to fall, right? So put 50% of that 20% there. The remaining you can put in mid cap, not small cap. Small cap too risky. Remaining put in mid cap. Find companies that will be the next Tata, will be the next Reliance, and put it there. That's it. Enough, simple.
So yeah, Shashank, I just joined. Sorry, I got disconnected by some reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, I will like ask few questions on stock only. So you told me ki, yeah, you had experience with investment back here, and like let me know ki, when you nowadays trade, what's your like approach on stock market? Whether go you like a technical way or you like approach like fundamental way where you analyze stocks and all. Like I'm asking this question like basically two broad people. Ki, one go for the price action and all things, and few people like look at the fundamental analysis.
Yeah.
So what's your view trading?
So I play the fundamental long term game because compounding only kicks in at the long term, not at the short term. I invest heavily in small cases. I make my own small case and keep it. I share it to some people as well. But no, I find my own stocks, I research my own stocks, and I play it for the long term. I don't care about price action and all that, because if I assume that I'm going to keep it for 3 to 4 years minimum, then price action does not happen right now. So I'm okay with that.
Great.
I'm a long
So
term.
have you any day trading? Like you have spent day trading? Like,
Right, I have lost 50,000 rupees in day trading because I went into it to learn. I didn't have knowledge. I thought I knew it, but it's a whole different ball game. It is not easy at all. And I was doing it part time because I had my office work and I used to do that. So I couldn't keep a track of when it was going up and when it was going down. And I realized it's a full time effort. You have to sit in front of your camera with your charts and watch it on a day to day basis. So I said, no, I can't do this. I stopped. I did try it. I want to learn it. I've learned basics, but that's it, just for knowledge. No, I don't do it.
great. So I just researched about forex. What's the like scenario of forex in Indian markets? I got to know that there's no company in India where you can go and start your forex account and you trade. Like there's so many XYZ companies, like, but those are fraud and scam. So I like wanted to ask you this question: do you invest in forex too, or like do you have your account like where you can trade in forex by some way?
Again, forex is again a short term thing, right? Again, it's a short term spike up, spike down. You buy it right now, sell it tomorrow. I don't do that at all. I don't even want to look at the stock market as much as possible, right? Because if I look at it, I'll get greedy and I'll try to put more. So I invest in a bunch of stocks. I leave it and I keep checking it. I just check it, okay, if it's going up or down. But I don't dive into it or track it like day in, day out. I do it because I have to do it as a part of my understanding. I have to keep myself informed and teach people about it. But I don't get swayed into the markets up and down, right? When it goes down is when I'm very happy. When the markets go down, I love it, right? So every time it goes down, I start buying more and averaging my price out. So that's how it.
Nice. So I will be asking another question on Bitcoin, right? So we can see there's a huge jump in Bitcoin. Yeah, it does happen. There's a like up and down happening in the market. But we can see like so many people are promoting this. It might happen in near future that Bitcoin gonna be like the only currency that we're gonna trade in. So what do you think? Does like you are in favor of this notion or not, or what's your take? And how much like do you like promote this thing? Ki we should learn Bitcoin and we should invest actively in it or not?
You should definitely learn Bitcoin. You should, if possible, you should definitely invest in Bitcoin. It is not bad. Bitcoin, that's what I was just saying, that Bitcoin as an entity is not bad, right? Bitcoin is good. Adoption is there. The only reason a cryptocurrency would go up is because if it gets market adoption, if people start using a cryptocurrency, it will go up. For example, if tomorrow nobody uses rupees and everyone uses Bitcoin, then the value of that rupee becomes useless. Think about it, right? So currency is only as good as its value, right? If this piece of paper has value, that means I can give you something out of it. If the piece of paper does not have value, then it's an issue. Now the problem is Bitcoin is not very, very risky. It is obviously risky. I'm not saying it's not risky. It is very equal to the stock market, because in the stock market you still have SEBI and RBI looking at the stock market, whereas in Bitcoin there's no one looking at it. Okay, it's decentralized and stuff like that. In reality, it's not very decentralized. Also, the Chinese hold a lot of power of the Bitcoin, but the thing with Bitcoin as an asset is not a very risky instrument, but the countries around Bitcoin have made it a risky instrument. Like in US, it's open, it's chill. Okay. Now Korea has made a new announcement saying you can trade in Bitcoin, pay me 30% tax. But India is saying we'll put you in jail, right? So that makes it risky here. So if a lot of people want to buy Bitcoin, I would say it is good, but you should be aware that if you buy it right now, you might go to jail or you might have to give up everything. So then obviously it's risky. Why would I want to go to jail?
Yeah.
Right? With my returns banana, I can do it somewhere else with better logic. So it's not because of Bitcoin. It's a country specific issue. The risk is from country side, not from Bitcoin side. Yeah.
Yeah. So let us take a few questions from our audience. So there's a question: ki being an influencer on Instagram, how you manage to reply all comments and how you manage to like schedule your entire day having an Instagram account. And basically, I think the question is about how you like manage your social media with your all things that you planned in a day.
No, it's good. I'm also human only. It's very simple. It's exactly like how you guys do it as well. For a time milta hai, open Instagram and sit down. Right? That's what I do. I get some time off. I open my phone and I sit on my phone and I watch Instagram. If I have time, I reply to comments. Now, so usually Saturday, Sunday, I reply a lot to comments. Kabhi kabhi raat ko neend nahi aa raha hai. I open my phone and I'm on Instagram looking at other people's content. I reply to comments. So there's no specific time ki 12 to 2 I'm going to sit on Instagram. No. time milta hai sitting, no, I have nothing else to do. Instead of, I put music and I start looking at Instagram. So there is as simple as that, boss. Nothing, no complicated story. But I do have people helping me out with content, so that makes my life slightly more easier. Like I have to shoot and they cut the video, repurpose it for IGTV and stuff like that. If I had to do that, then it would eat into my time. So I have someone doing that for me.
Great. Another question is, being a college student, when we don't have like much to invest in, we just had like short of like small amount of pocket money. What should be the way of learning? So person is trying to ask you, what should be the ideal way or ideal approach to learn like nuances about finance and stock markets if I'm in college when I really don't have much amount to invest?
Dude, even if you have 250 rupees to save and invest, you can invest in the stock market, right? ITC is currently at around 200-ish. Okay. So ITC is one of the most stable, secure stocks that you can ever see in your life. Okay. ITC is all your uh, stuff that you use at home, your shampoos, your biscuits, your cigarettes, everything. It's a diversified company. Marico is also there. There's so many. Try to find, just go to Google and say the top companies in India, top stock listed companies in India. You'll see HDFC Bank, you'll see Reliance, you'll see ICICI Bank, you'll see all those banks. Now see how much you can invest. If you can save $1,000, then you should rather invest in say HDFC Bank. If you don't have $1,000, you invest in something like Marico or ITC. If you come lower, it's ITC. So find out what you can do, what is your amount to invest. Even with 1,000 rupees, you can. Now, if you say, okay, Shashank, all that also I can't do, it's too confusing, it's too irritating, then understand, find out what is an ETF, right? There's this nifty ETF that is there, which is again around 150, 200 rupees. You can start investing in that and leave it for a long period of time. You can buy Infosys. These are stocks that will not die, right? You know for a fact Infosys is there from our father's zamana. It'll still be there till our kids grow up. There'll be Infosys. So that's what it is. So I would rather suggest, if you have no knowledge in the stock market, just Google and find top companies in India and see what budget comes into your budget and just invest. Simple stuff. Don't overcomplicate.
Yeah. So I think this should be the last question we can take. Yeah. So last question we can take this one. Yeah. So what should be ideal online platforms or ideal maybe YouTube channels would you want to recommend, or ideal books would you want to recommend these people to like start their journey?
I would say the most YouTube channels, I would say Rachana Ranade is doing a really, really fab job. Okay, so you should definitely look at her content. Lot of education. She focuses too much on education. I watch her videos sometimes to get some knowledge. So she is very good. Her IPO reviews are amazing. So have a look at that. There's a very underrated secret channel called SOIC on YouTube. You can just go to YouTube and write SOIC. It's called School of Intrinsic Compounding. Again, the amount of research and depth, he's very underrated because he's not doing massy content, he's doing quality, and he gains loyal followers. So he grows very slow, but he's growing really, really well, right? So SOIC is something that you should again look at it. Then there is Neeraj Arora, which also talks a lot about CA and CFA, but also some in stocks as well. Now, but I think if you look at Rachana Ranade's course, I think you should be okay with the stock market. And just Google, you'll see all these people giving a lot of gyan. Go to Zerodha Varsity, you will learn a lot. Look at Grow's YouTube channel. They can put out a lot of educational content on Grow. To do that, just keep learning. Open Economic Times and read. Open Live Mint and read. You will not understand half the things. Google it. Try to understand. If you don't understand it, go to YouTube and try to understand it from a simplistic point of view. But first, educate yourself for at least a year before you start entering the market heavily.
Great. So yeah, finally, this you answered all the questions. Yeah, I can't see any other relevant question.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thanks for coming, Shashank. I can't tell you how excited I was to host you, right? So yeah, it was really insightful session. And yeah, I hope participants enjoyed it too. I can't share the chat section, but yeah, people are really interested to like see you versus a 70% fans. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. See you. Thank you for having me. Bye, Nupur. Bye, Shashank.